Okay, so I'm going to mark exercise 8.3. You had to do number 1. So I'm going to, as I do this, explain the FOIL rule again. We use the FOIL rule when I have two binomials multiplied by one another. That means when I have two brackets with each two terms inside. Look at these. It's two brackets, 1, 2 terms, 1, 2 terms. If I have 2 terms times 2 terms, or a binomial times a binomial, I use the FOIL rule, F-O-I-L, which stands for first, outsides, insides, last. Everybody with me? First, outsides, insides, last. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. At number 1, I'm going to multiply the firsts with one another. So it looks like this. X times x, those are the firsts. X times x is x squared. Outsides, the two outside ones, x times negative 4, remember the sign, is negative 4x. And then insides, 2 times x is positive 2x. And lasts, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Then I see that I have families. Look at these. I have 2 x's. So those are family. I can add them. The rest stays as it is. X squared. Minus 4 plus 2 is negative 2x. And minus 8. So please look at this. When I times a binomial by a binomial, I get a trinomial for an answer. So I get 3 terms in my answer, always. Most of the time. Only for one of the shortcut rules, I will not get 3 terms in the answer. So please make sure that you have 3 terms in the answer. Otherwise, you did something wrong. Okay, so let's count the terms in the answer. 1, 2, 3 terms. So there are 3 terms. When I multiply a binomial by a binomial, then the answer has 3 terms. Number 1C, again the FOIL rule. First, outsides, insides, last. So the first ones, x times x is x squared. Outsides, x times 2y is plus 2xy. Y times x, the insides, is plus xy. And y times 2y is 2y squared. Okay. Now I find families. Usually it is the middle 2 that are family. Usually the middle 2 will be family. The others on the outside stay as they are. X squared. Plus 2 plus 1 is plus 3xy. Their surname stays the same. Plus 2y squared. Okay. Last one. Number D. Again, how do I see that I have to use the FOIL rule? It's a binomial times a binomial. That means a 2-term times a 2-term. And they are both in brackets. Then I know that's what I have to do. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 5y is negative 15xy. Insides, negative times positive is negative 8xy, because 4 times 2 is 8 and x times y is xy. Negative 4y times negative 5y is positive 20y squared. Remember, y times y gives me y squared. Now I need to find families. Usually it's the middle 2. They are like terms, so I add them. 6x squared. Or I subtract them. Minus 15 minus another 8 is minus 23xy plus 20y squared. And those are the answers. Okay, so now we know the FOIL rule. And there are 2 types of binomials that I multiply with one another that has a shortcut. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to multiply it with the FOIL rule and also with the shortcut. If you don't want to use the shortcut, you don't have to. And otherwise, you can just continue using the FOIL rule. Okay, so the FOIL rule, for the first one, what can we see about these two brackets? What can we see about 2x plus 6, 2x minus 6? They are almost the same, yes? But one thing differs, and that is the sign. Okay, so when I have two brackets that looks exactly the same, but the signs are different, then I have a shortcut. Okay, so, and the other time that I have a shortcut is when I have a bracket squared. Okay, so there are two types that I have a shortcut for. The first one is when I have two binomials. They look exactly the same except for the signs. So it's bracket plus, bracket minus. They look exactly the same except for the signs. Okay, let's do the FOIL rule on that one. The FOIL rule says first, outside, inside, last. So let's do that. We write it out and we do first 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 6 is negative 12x. Plus 6 times 2x is plus 12x. And plus 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. What can we see about these two middle terms that are family? What can we see? Minus 12 plus 12. What will happen? 0. Minus 12 plus 12 will give me 0. So all that will be left is 4x squared minus 36. So what is the shortcut then? The shortcut, it's very, very nice. It's not hard at all. It's easier. Okay? The shortcut only when I have the same brackets with different signs. Bracket plus, bracket minus. Is to multiply first times first, last times last. So easy, huh? That's the only time when I'm allowed to only times first. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Last times last. 6 times negative 6 is minus 36. So that's way easier, right? So when can I do that? Only when I have bracket plus, bracket minus. Everybody say bracket plus, bracket minus. So that is the first shortcut. When I have this bracket plus, bracket minus, I can multiply only the firsts and the lasts. That's nice, right? But if I forget about the shortcut, I can still use the FOIL rule and it will give me the same answer if I do it correctly. Because I will just see there's a minus 12 plus 12 and that will add up to 0. So I will still get the same answer. Okay. So I want you to, when you see a bracket plus, bracket minus in your homework, I want you to divide your page in two halves and I want you to do the long method, the FOIL method, and also the short method. On both, you do the same question twice, do the FOIL method and the shortcut method next to one another. Okay. Now, when you see this, not the whole activity, because the whole activity doesn't have all of these. All of them is not shortcuts. Some of them is just the long method. Okay. Next shortcut, let's talk about when I have a bracket squared. That actually means that I have two of the same bracket right next to one another. So I have bracket squared, which means bracket times bracket. Okay. Now I see it's a binomial times a binomial, so I can do FOIL rule. Let's do that. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Now I see like terms. I see families, so I can add them. What do we see about those two? They are the same. Alright? So minus 4 minus another 4 will give me minus 8. So the x squared stays there, minus 8x plus 16. Now I would like to explain the shortcut to you. For the shortcut, this is what I do. When I have a bracket squared, I take the first one and I square it. So that will be x squared. I leave a space, I take the last one and I square it. Plus 16. Because negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. And for the middle term, it's term 1 times term 2 times 2. Okay, so listen. Term 1 times term 2, which will give me negative 4x times 2. Okay, do this with me with your fingers. Term 1 times term 2 times 2. Term 1 times term 2 times 2. Everybody say that with me. Term 1 times terms 2 times 2. So say the first times the second times 2. Let's say it like that. The first times the second times 2. The first times the second times 2. So it's the first one times the second one, which is negative 4x times 2. And that will give me negative 8x. So that is the middle term. Is it the same as that? Yes. But I didn't have this step. I just went directly to the answer. I didn't have the middle step. That's why it's a shortcut. If you don't want to use the shortcut, you're allowed to still do the FOIL rule. Will you please try in your homework when you have a bracket squared to do the shortcut? So how do I know what the shortcut is? It's written out here. This part in the middle says 2 times the first times the second. Okay, so it's the first times the second times 2. Say it once more. The first times the second times 2. Now I want you to do the rest of exercise 8.3. We've already done number 1. So number 2 to number 6 you have to do now with the FOIL rule.